What up, Dokkanners? Today's video is going to be a Memorial Stone breakdown from the year of 2022. I took the information from a lot of other Dokkan tubers who reached out, and I put all their information into one little spreadsheet, and I did a little bit of a ESPN type of analysis breakdown. So what you're about to see are the numbers from 2022. Now, this whole Memorial thing started from 2020, so we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson back to the year 2020 and 2021, and then I will reveal my stone count, and then we will jump into the analytics, or not really analytics, but just the numbers. So let's just start by looking back at 2020. This was the first year that it came out. This is the first year that I decided to kind of pull some of the Dokkan tubers around. At the time, I was a much smaller channel. I didn't know as many people, and I also didn't really... it was sort of a last minute thing. So I just asked a handful of people that I knew, and these were the numbers that I got. Obviously, at the top, as we can always expect to see, Truth, number one. He plays the game the most, more than anybody else. He spends the most. So he's obviously going to be at the top. And Nolar was number two. Nolar was one of the biggest whales in Dokkan for quite some time. He still is. Even though the guy claims to be retired, he's not retired. He is absolutely not. The guy still plays. The guy still spends. Havohai was also dominating the charts a little bit back in the day because he needed to have, I'll always remember this, Havohai always needed to have at least one copy of every single Dokkan festival. And those, I guess 2020 was a little bit rougher for him. So he was number three, again, out of the polled people that I looked at here. Obviously, there's no Goresh, no Nano. I think Rhyme was still playing at the time. Didn't get all those guys. But this was the breakdown for 2020. Then if we move over to 2021, this is what we had. So last year, I moved my way into the top five. Again, didn't get everybody, but got a lot of people. Truth, obviously, at the top. Nolar also dominating as well. Goresh, Nano. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you want to call it dominating, because if you think about it, the more Memorial Stones you have, the more stones you actually spent. Like, look at Truth, for example. 2,700 last year, which means the dude consumed over 130,000 Dragon Stones. And if you think about the monetary value behind that, you probably might pass out. So this isn't exactly something that we should be proud of. This is simply just numbers, all right? So don't think too much into it. But that being said, looking at the trends from the years past, what do you think my stone count is going to be? I've asked you guys this before. Your final prediction, you can post it now in the comment section down below. And then once it gets revealed, you can go back in and edit it and see if you were right or wrong. So with that said, get ready, get ready, get ready. 1,173 Memorial Stones gained during this year, 2022. That is a lot. Now, if we take that and compare it to a bunch of other Dokkan tubers, this is what we've got here. So again, at the top, we've got the Truth leading the pack with actually a pretty significant change here. He only spent he only got 2419 in terms of the Memorial Stone, so about a 300 Memorial Stone difference, and that's actually quite surprising for Truth, but we'll get to that in a second. At number two, it is Goresh. So a big change here is that Nolar dropped in the power rankings and Goresh moved his way to second place, and that does not seem good, because that tells me that Goresh had a rough year. The dude went from, like, I think he was around 1,500 the year before. Let me actually see, what was Goresh last year? It was 1,500. Now the dude got to 2,076. So the guy spent a lot more, didn't have the best time. I don't even think he was link leveling as much towards the end of the tabulation period. So it was really just all the summons that he had to do, which means he had bad luck, which is unfortunate. Now, for Nano, Nano was going to send me the information, but unfortunately he couldn't get the information to me in time. So instead of having to wait, I didn't want to prolong this video. I had to just throw it out there. I already had the thumbnail made, so apologies, Nano. Apologies, everybody. Nano was supposed to be in here, but it was unfortunately not possible. So Nano, I just put him at number three because I just assume he's probably there. I mean, because if we look at last year, like the dude spent a lot, right? 1,200. I couldn't even match that number this year. So, you know, Nano putting in work as usual makes sense. So I figured I would just throw him up at the top three. His numbers are not supposed to make any sense. I just threw on some numbers, so just ignore Nano's numbers. Just assume he's in the top five. Nolar dropped down to number four, so that's a big shift from where he was before. He was number two. He dropped down quite significantly, and now 1,459. And then, making his first introduction into the top five, Scott Herman from Oh the Hermanity. He is also someone that I actually should have gotten the information for last year, but there was just too many people. He spent 1,250. The dude spends a lot of money in Dokkan. You guys just don't know it because he doesn't do as much content on it these days, but he does show up for the collabs, which, by the way, we will be doing a collab with Scott, Tiger, and Goresh on the channel during the Worldwide Download celebration. I can confidently say that now. So if it doesn't happen at this point, it ain't my fault. I'm putting them on blast. All right. So yeah, Scott is also putting in work with 1,250 this year. That's a lot of Memorial Stones. And I was the one right behind him. So I spent 1,173. Totaling to about almost 60,000 Dragon Stones consumed over the year, Granted, I have spent a lot of time link leveling these days. I have had some pretty nasty summoning experiences, but it still didn't reach the level of Goresh. I really thought that it would. I was just totally wrong. Goresh's Despair arc was pretty significant this year. Moving down the list, we got my boy Mass Ningen. He is number 7. So we did see a pretty seismic shift here in terms of some of the regulars up at the upper echelon here. D Simons wanted to bring in some international Dokkan tubers in here. So my buddies D Simons and Kawhi also graced this chart with their presence. D Simons at number 8, putting in some work. Steven dropping down the list after last year, a pretty uncharacteristic shift for him. Minato from the JP side. I think some of these numbers might be a little bit off. So for the JP players who are, maybe wondering why the numbers might be different, apologies. It's because there was some sort of glitch on JP and I couldn't get all the updated numbers. I tried to find it myself. They may be right, they may be wrong, but they're pretty close anyway. Minato at number 10, rounding out the top 10. Then we got Havohai. Havohai had a pretty significant drop off for the last couple of years. He's been smooth sailing for a little while. So the dude's living his best life. Tiger as well. Tiger is the biggest change, which we'll talk about. Dude dropped from like 700 down to 376. So the Tiger has been taking it easy. We got Mr. Baby in here. Icy Josh. Icy Josh has been another surprise. Kawhi, Pilk, and Jay Fanta rounding out the rest of the list. So now if we look on the right side, the biggest percentage gains. Now in terms of percentages, obviously that is relative. So if you're looking at a smaller sample size, a very minute change could ultimately look like something much bigger than it is. So that's why I'm showing the percentage change and the actual stone changes. So under percentage changes, we have a very different top 3. We got Icy Josh at the top. The dude spent a lot more. He has been link leveling a lot, so that has probably got a little bit to do with it, but I think the dude's also been summoning a lot more. So the dude's living well, eating good. So he is at 76.8% uptick. That's a pretty big change. But again, if you look at his overall Memorial Stone count, it is very different when you look at the top 5. So he's at number 1, Mr. Baby at number 2. Did you know he plays for the Denver Nuggets? And number 3, we had D Simons. I couldn't find a good picture of him, so I just used that one. He made that. That's not me. That's at 42% or 41%. Now, the biggest actual Memorial Stone gains, number 1 is Goresh. Goresh just got destroyed. It's as simple as that. The dude was not having a good time this year, and he was getting shafted on a lot of different banners, and it clearly shows because the delta between our Memorial Stone counts have increased from last year to this year. He gained an extra 531 Memorial Stones this year. I gained 327 more, and D Simons gained about 173 more. So there you have it for the gains. Now let's take a look at the drops. So these are the drops. Now this one is a very surprising set of names here because at number 1, the biggest percentage change, the most drastic change in service of money is Tiger. Tiger dropped nearly 50% on his stone consumption for the year of 2022. Didn't spend as much on the summons. I don't think Tiger even does much in link leveling at all. But the dude is definitely reducing the stone expenditure in Dokkan, which is arguably good. So if anything, if you want to look at this as a positive, you really can. These are the people who are living their best lives because they're breaking away from the burdens of having to actually spend and consume in Dokkan. So Tiger at number 1. Pilk, if you guys recall, I did a collab with Pilk, my boy Raptor's Delight, during year 5, which was awesome. He is at almost 20% down. And then Steven, down 17%. The dude went from becoming a semi or pseudo whale to dropping and going back down to the dolphin class. So shout out to Steven for, not spending as much and getting his life together. Just kidding. Biggest Memorial Stone drops. This has to go to Nolar. Nolar, even though his percentage change is different, is much lower than Tiger's. If you have to look at the scale and the scope of it all, Nolar spends a lot of money on Dokkan. So when he, quote, retired, it didn't actually happen exactly like that. He spent a little bit less. It's kind of like when I say I'm going to stop trying hard on the World Tournament and I go from like top 20 to top 30. Even though it's a pretty significant change for me, may not seem that way for you. So Nolar number 1, Tiger number 2, and Truth number 3 in the biggest drops for Memorial Stones. Now that's a big surprise. Why is that? Well, let's jump into the final slide here in this little presentation. Year 2022 in a nutshell. The answer, Truth got luckier. That is the main reason why his Memorial Stone consumption, or the Memorial Stones that he earned, went down. The dude got a whole lot luckier on some of the summons. I've seen some of them. He got some pretty lucky summons, and when you summon at the amount that he does, when you have multiple instances where you get lucky, that's a pretty significant change in the stones that you would have spent. So That is probably the most weighted reason as to why Truth's Memorial Stone count went down. Another one you can definitely attribute to all of the JP players' possible decrease in activity would be the Toon Key. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't maybe necessarily agree with that terminology, but too bad, I'm going to call it that. Those purple keys that JP received, that was at the middle of a lot of controversy, those keys allow you to access guaranteed link level stages, where you can literally link up a ton of link levels at the same time. So if you have a full unit that has all level 9 links, all 7 of those links will proc to level 10. That is a significant change. Now, for someone like Truth, who's constantly link leveling everybody, it may not necessarily have as much weight, but for other people, if they're trying to focus on link leveling the units that actually matter, like the Dokkan Festival ones or the easiest, whichever ones they actually care about, if they get them all done through something like the Toon Key, then that significantly reduces the demand to have to go through 8-9, 20, 28-2, 7, 10, whatever stages that may be, to get that one nagging link level 9. Because I think a lot of people, I wish I could do the statistical breakdown on this. Like, how many stones do people end up spending on average trying to get that one last link level 9 to level 10, right? So in the process of doing the Toon Key stage, you don't have to do all that anymore. So I think that also might have some impact on the JP players. Global doesn't have this yet. We will be getting this, I think, next week. Other things to sum up here: Garesh got destroyed, obviously. Tiger got smarter. Nolar retired. I see Josh, dude's on that henny, man. I see Josh, he snapped. Dude snapped. Nano didn't reply to my DM. Shout out to Nano. He called me out once on Twitter. I figure I could do the same right here. Actually, no. He called me out on Twitch. Yeah, it was on Twitch. And you know what? That reputation has now preceded me. People really think I'm just horrible at communication. It might be kind of true, but thank you, Nano. So big shout out to Nano. Didn't reply to my DM. And if you want a fun fact here, out of all 16 of the creators, not counting Nano because I couldn't get his info here, but out of the other 16 people, we spent or consumed 635,000 Dragon Stones in the year 2021 to 2022. All 16 of us combined, that's how much we spent. Now, if you want to put that into actual numbers, and if you want to give it to like a dollar amount, I'm not going to do that because I think that would be way too depressing. So if you want to find that out for yourself, feel free to do the math, figure it out. If you want to post it in the comments, go ahead. I'm just going to leave it at that. That is a good enough rundown of the year that has been for the Memorial Stones. What do you guys think? What do you think? Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments, what is the biggest surprise for you guys in this chart? What was the biggest uptick that got your attention? Was it someone that you were expecting to be maybe higher, someone maybe lower? What do you guys think about this chart, and what do you think about the summary in the comments? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll let you know you're going to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned, and always remember to Dokkan responsibly. I'm gonna go call my tax guy.